Chris Godinez, licensed professional counselor, also the host of We Need to Talk on every Sunday at noon. This video is for educational and informational purposes only. The views and opinions stated herein are mine and mine alone. They do not represent the ACA, the APA, or any other therapist for that matter. Boom, shakalaka, done. I would like to thank my sponsor, BetterHelp, BetterHelp, BetterHelp.com/Chris Godinez. They're an online therapy company. They're awesome. I have been getting such good feedback from people who are using them. So thank you to BetterHelp, BetterHelp.com/Chris Godinez. I will put it down in the description. Like I said, they're international. If you're outside of the US, you can get in with a US counselor. So you guys will have to figure out the time difference, but you can get in with a US counselor. Hey guys. And also if you're in the US and you don't like your counselor, you get onto BetterHelp, fill out a questionnaire. They'll set you up with a licensed professional master's level or PhD level in your state. And then you can start counseling and from your home, which is great, or your car or the park or a coffee shop or whatever. Just be aware that, you want to make sure your surroundings are safe. So anyway, anytime you do online stuff. So, all right, there's that. Thank you. BetterHelp.com/Chris Godinez. Okay, kids, let's dive into this, shall we? So last week we were talking about, what the heck were we talking about? Dear Lord. But when in the question and answers, we were talking about stuff and this thing came up about psychological terms. So first of all, hold on. Sorry, shameless plugs. Books. These are available on Audible. My newest book is coming out this month. It's called So You Want to Be a Therapist. It is specifically for people that are interested in going into therapy to become a therapist or into, you know what I'm saying, going back to school to get their master's degree to become a therapist, because I want to make sure everybody understands what they're signing up for. Anyway, these are my books on Audible. They're also on Amazon, Kindle, et cetera, et cetera. This is You Can Lead a Horse to Water, but you can't make him cha-cha. And this is What's Wrong with Your Dad. So this one is about talking about why people get into abusive relationships and stay in abusive relationships. And this one is about growing up in a crazy family where, crazy family. So, and how I worked through that. So there is that. Also, Shahida Arabi's Highly Sensitive Person's Guide to Dealing with Toxic People. Recommend this highly. If you are dealing with an abuser, you want to get this book because it really does help. And I recommend it to my clients. So there is that. Susanna Quintana, You're Still That Girl, available at SusannaQuintana.com. She's awesome. I love her. We are not going to be doing any sort of seminars until we figure out what's going on with the whole virus thing, because we don't want to get sick. Also, if you are divorcing somebody who is disordered, Splitting by Bill Eddy and Randy Krieger. This is great. This talks about every rotten thing that these people are going to do in the courts. So how they're going to behave, what they're going to do, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So there is that. Okay, so let's dive into this. So something that abusers do, and it just annoys the living crap out of me, but again, you can't control it. So you just got to learn to deal with it. What abusers do is they like to go onto websites or discussions like this, and they use stuff that they, just like parental alienation. Okay, so just like when we were talking about parental alienation, that's been hijacked by abusers, and they start claiming that the sane parent is parentally alienating, when in fact it's the crazy one. So they do the same thing. They'll come on to websites like this or to pages like this or discussions like this, and they'll pick up terms and then they'll flip them around and use them against their target of abuse. And they make it, they add just enough truth to make it sound viable, which then sends the target of abuse into a tailspin going, oh my God, am I this? Am I that? Am I the narcissist? Am I the abuser? Am I a psychopath? Am I antisocial? And they do. And they throw all of these terms out that they really, truly don't understand what they are. And here's the other thing, guys. So remember, if an abuser's lips are moving, they are lying. Seriously, serious as a heart attack. If they're talking, they're lying. They're manipulating, they're lying, they're trying to figure out what they can do to get their way. That is just what abusers do, which, by the way, is going to be the topic next week. I want to talk about why do they need harems, right? And why do they keep people strung along? So I think I'm going to talk about lies they tell to keep us stuck. So that's probably keeping us stuck. What lies they tell to keep us stuck? That's probably what I'm going to name it. So I want to talk about the lies they tell to get harems around them. I want to talk about why they need a harem and what you need to be doing. So anyway, back to today's topic. So they use terms, and they use terms that they don't fully understand, or they're using terms that are actually describing themselves. So let's talk about the you guns, okay? So when an abuser is doing verbal abuse, and this is verbal abuse, let us be clear about this. They are doing verbal abuse anytime they start name calling. That is verbal abuse. I cannot tell you the number of times I have had clients sit down and go, "Oh, well, but they never hit me, so it wasn't abuse. Oh, well, but they never did this, so it wasn't abuse." And I'm just like, "Oh, no, 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 no. Let's be clear. Verbal abuse is abuse." Let's just say it with me. Verbal abuse is abuse. Verbal abuse is abuse. Verbal abuse is abuse. Period. Done. Take that home, put it in the bank, because that's what it is. Verbal abuse is abuse. Name calling is specifically used by abusers to inflict harm, hurt, self-doubt, gaslighting, rewriting history, etc., etc., etc. So you guns. So what abusers love to do is they go, "You're a psychopath. You're antisocial. You're this. You're the narcissist. You're this. You're the abuser. You." Okay, so yeah, there's two fingers pointed out towards you. There are six fingers pointed back at the other person. Realize that when an abuser is saying things like this, doing the you guns, they are talking about themselves. Who is the psychopath in this scenario, people? Who is the narcissist in this scenario? Who is the abuser? It's not the target. Let's just be clear. It's not you guys, it's them. It be them. It always be them. It's them, not you, them. So when somebody whips out the you guns and they're calling you psychological diagnoses, gnosis, you know what I'm saying. Anyway, when they're doing that, you really, that should be like red flag flying right there. It's like, what is the purpose of this? Why are they doing that? Whoa, I just moved my desk. Sorry. So why are they doing that? Why are they using psychological terms? Because they need to feel like they are, what's the word I'm looking for? Valid, or using something technical so that they know more than you do. That is what abusers do. Okay. So I pulled up a couple of articles, one from Psychology Today, and the other one is from Very Well Family. So what is name calling? Name calling is abusive, derogatory language or insults. It is a form of relational bullying. Now, this is mostly in regards to kids, but it's so funny because they're talking about what age range usually does this, and it's about 4 years old. And I just kind of went, yeah, that's about right, because narcissists don't really grow much past 4 years old. It's like 2 to 4. That's about as much emotional intelligence as they get. So it is relational bullying, and it is intended to harm, hurt, one up, etc., etc., etc. Okay, hold on. Okay. Consequences of name calling. Name calling hurts in the moment and can have many lasting repercussions. The consequences of name calling include the following: erodes sense of self. Okay, yeah. How many times have they done the you're this, you're that, you're a psychopath, you're antisocial, you're the narcissist, you're, whatever, fill in the blank, or they just flat out call names. I mean, I can't tell you how horrible it is to hear some of the things that narcissists call their partners. I mean, it's just vile, vile, vile. So name calling is intended to erode the self-esteem. They're trying to erode your sense of reality, and they're trying to erode your self-esteem. They're trying to take away what you already know about yourself. So that's why they do the whole, you're the abuser, you're the narcissist, you're a psychopath, you're antisocial. And they do this all the time. I cannot tell you the number of clients I have come in, sit on the couch and go, "Oh my God, I must be the abuser. I must be." And I'm like, no, you're not, because you're getting help. Number one, narcissists don't stay in therapy. They may go once, maybe twice, possibly 3 times at the outlier. But after that, they quit because they don't want to be accountable for their behavior and they don't like it that the therapist sees them. So, yeah, it's narcissists and abusive people. Psychopaths don't go get help. Let's just be clear about that. They think they're smarter than everybody else. They don't conform to social norms. They want to hurt people. They enjoy hurting people. Let's talk about all this, shall we? Okay, back to the name calling. It compromises beliefs and values. So, if they make fun of you, so let's say, for example, you get involved with, and this can go either way. You either get involved with somebody who has no belief system, like no higher power, no, none of that. And you do, and then they start making fun of you for having a higher power, or vice versa. You don't have a belief system and they do, and they start making fun of you for not having one. It's kind of like, geez Louise, people, live and let live. So it's like, do you see where I'm going with that? So they start eroding whatever your belief system or your value system is. Either way, it's not good, because it's kind of like, hey, that's your belief system. You believe that. That's great. I'm going to believe this. That's great. But remember, with an abuser, narcissists have to have everybody believing the exact same thing. And generally they're not truly religious. They may be communal narcissists and they use religion, but remember, they think they're God. So they're not truly religious. So, but they will use that. They will use that to shame, blame, hurt, whatever, trying to get the person back to their belief system as opposed to your belief system, instead of allowing people to have their own thoughts and beliefs, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Because remember, the more disordered somebody is, the less able they are to accept differing opinions, because it's too threatening to their very fragile ego. Because remember, narcissists are all ego, all completely, 100%. Okay, so back to the name calling. Okay, so it compromises beliefs and values. It damages your sense of well-being. It affects identity. Who am I? My abuser is constantly telling me I'm stupid. That's what they do. Or that, I'm damaged, I'm wrong, I'm bad, I'm this, I'm that. So it erodes the effect of identity. It's like you start questioning. It's like, oh my God, am I the problem? Am I the problem? Am I the, and no, you're not. You're not. It prompts internal criticism. What a surprise. It affects the mood, harms mental health, causes depression, anxiety, thoughts of suicide. Oh my God. Yes. So, and John, I want to put the National Suicide Prevention Hotline up if we can. So the National Suicide Prevention Hotline is 1-800-273-8255. So, they want, I cannot stress this enough to you. The reason they say these horrible and untrue things is because they want us dead. So remember, narcissists are inherently pathologically jealous. They cannot stand anybody having anything that they don't have. So when somebody is joyous and happy and funny and the whole thing, they want to ruin it. They want to take it away from them. And if they can't take it away from them, they want that person dead. And so they do whatever they think they need to in order to drive that person to self-harm. That's what they do. That is absolutely what they do. They are evil to the nth degree. And the best thing to do is to get the bleep away from them. Seriously, you can't fix them. Once they've reached that dark triad, which is psychopath, narcissist, Machiavellian, once they've reached that level of maliciousness, they don't change. They don't. They enjoy it. They're sadistic. They enjoy it. And they enjoy the power that comes from, ha, 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 I made this person kill themselves. They do that. They absolutely, they're crazy. They absolutely do that. Okay, so back to the name calling. It compromises physical health. How many survivors of abuse have got autoimmune diseases? How many survivors of abuse develop cancer? How many survivors of abuse go on to develop other physical issues, ulcers, et cetera, digestive systems, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera? They want us dead, and it causes all of this anxiety in our body, and our body responds, and it can't live up here at survival all the time. It's got to come back down to calm. But when you're with an abuser, it never does get back to survive or back from survival to calm. It doesn't, because we're constantly, periscope up, looking, 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 looking. Where's the danger? Where's the danger? And if they're constantly calling us names, throwing around psychological terms, gaslighting, creating self-doubt, creating fear, creating, second guessing yourself. That's what they love to do. They don't want you confident. They don't want you secure. They don't want you healthy. I mean, honest to God, if you're in a healthy relationship, okay, first of all, they're not going to be name calling. No name calling goes on in a healthy relationship unless it's Pookie Boo. That's the only name calling that should be going on. So in a healthy relationship, if somebody is having a mental health issue, you don't sit there and throw terms at them and damn them. You would help them get help. Am I not right? Of course I'm right. So anyway, the point being is that they do this to hurt, to harm. So if somebody is throwing around psychological terms at you and saying, you're this, you're that, you're this, you're that, and they're not helping you get help, you can bet your sweet little bippy that they're doing it to harm you, hurt you, erode your self-confidence, make you doubt yourself, second guess yourself, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So there is that. Okay, hold on. Okay, how to respond. Okay, so really, let's get to that in a moment. I just want to do one more article. Okay, and this one is on Psychology Today. This is abuse is more than just physical. Verbal abuse occurs when an individual continuously uses words as weapons to gain power or control over another individual. Verbal abuse. I didn't think I was being abused because he didn't hit me is a common saying. Yes, it is. Many people use when undergoing different forms of abuse besides physical abuse. Verbal abuse occurs when an individual continuously uses words as weapons to gain power or control over another individual. The words in some form are meant to cause emotional pain and harm. And that's why they do it. Verbal abuse is often difficult to spot and even harder to prove because there's no clear cut definition, because nobody's bothering to train the freaking courts on this stuff. Don't get me started. I think we talked about this last time. Just training for everybody. That would be nice. And for therapists, I can't tell you the number of therapists that don't understand domestic violence. That don't understand, they go into couples counseling, doing couples counseling, and they don't understand domestic violence. And I'm like, sweet baby Jesus, you're going to be doing a lot of damage. So, okay. Anyway, the prolonged silent treatment is a form of verbal abuse. So that's the flip side of it. So the side we're talking about is when they, and they're telling you all these horrible things about you and the you guns. The flip side of that is the stonewalling, the cold silent treatment, cold shoulder. That lights up the same pain centers as physical pain. So basically, no matter what they do, they're doing whatever they're doing to intentionally inflict pain. They want those pain centers to light up like a Roman candle. Seriously. So, okay. So those are on Psychology Today. And so this is called Abuse is More Than Just Physical. This is by Kristen Fuller, MD. The other one was called Name Calling, which was more geared towards dealing with bullies in school, but it still applies because, these people are about age 4 and they're never going to grow up. This one was called 9 Consequences of Name Calling, and it's from Very Well Family. So those are that. Okay, so dealing with a name caller. Let's take apart what they are doing, first of all. So when they use psychological terms, okay, they're talking about themselves, number 1. Number 2, they're trying to confuse you, and they're trying to make you think that you are the abuser. So one of their favorite ones to do is that they tell you you're a psychopath or that you're antisocial. So let's talk about what those terms really mean. What is a psychopath? The term psychopath is used to describe someone who is callous, unemotional, and morally depraved. While the term isn't an official mental health diagnosis, it is often used in clinical and legal settings. See, this is what I don't understand. Why are they using something in clinical and legal settings, but it's not in the DSM-5? Can we have somebody to teach stuff to the courts, that would be nice. So, it's honestly, it's like the whoever does the DSM, the American Psychiatric Association, really needs to put psychopathy in there. They do. Psychopaths happen. So, more often than you would like to admit. And it makes me angry that for years this topic of abuse has been shoved under the carpets by the schools that teach psychology because, oh well, we just don't want to label and we don't want to do this and we do. Okay, how about you actually help people? How about you help the targets? How about you do that? How about just an off thing? Why don't you do that? So it really makes me angry that that is not in there. It also makes me angry that the American Psychiatric Association has not put in narcissistic abuse syndrome. So it's like the survivors have something that they can look at and go, yes, this is what I am going through. PTSD, CPTSD, yes, that kind of sort of covers it, but it's specific to verbal abuse that is done over and over and over again by these freaking narcissists and abusers. So yeah, it just don't get me started. Sorry. That's a whole tangent. It makes me angry that they're not teaching this in the schools and that they are not teaching this. And when I say the schools, I mean schools to become a psychologist, psychiatrist, counselor, etc., social worker. This needs to be taught. This needs to be taught. And psychopathy needs to be taught so you understand what you could potentially be dealing with when you go out in the field. Because there is nothing worse than sitting down to a couples counseling and realizing in the middle of the session, oh crap, this person is a complete psychopath and narcissist and fill in the blank. And you're sitting there going, great, school didn't give me any tools. How dangerous is that? Not just for you as the practitioner, but for the client. So I'm sorry, I just went off on a total tangent. Sorry. Okay. All right. So getting back to the issue at hand. So what is a psychopath? So while psychology while psychopathy is not a diagnosis in and of itself, many of the characteristics of psychopathy overlap with symptoms of antisocial personality disorder. Now that is in the DSM-5. A broader mental health condition that is used to describe people who chronically act out and break rules, but only a small number of individuals with antisocial personality disorder are considered psychopaths. I think it's larger than what they know, but that's okay because they don't get reported. And we've talked about that before. Okay. So, common psychopathic traits. Psychopathic behavior varies greatly from one individual to another. Some are sex offenders and murderers. Others may be successful leaders. Others are CEOs. Others are, you know, continually setting fires. I mean, it just, don't get me started. Okay, so it's important to distinguish between psychopaths and people with psychopathic traits. It's possible to exhibit several psychopathic traits without being an actual psychopath. Most people with psychopathic traits don't necessarily engage in psychopathic behavior. Only individuals with psychopathic traits who also exhibit comorbid antisocial behavior are considered to be psychopaths. So, psychopathic antisocial behavior, narcissism, superficial charm, impulsivity, callous, unemotional traits, lack of guilt, and lack of empathy. Oh boy, does this sound familiar? Signs of a psychopath, superficial charm. So, narcissists also do this. And the further down they get, dark triad, which means psychopathy, narcissism, Machiavellianism, control freak, superficial charm. So they'll be like super charming. They'll go, my dad used to do this. He would go out into the community and he would just be super charming, or as charming as he could be. And then when he came back home, that's when all hell broke loose, quite literally. So they can be superficially charming, charming narcissist, charming psychopath. Those ones are dangerous because people don't see them. They just kind of take them at face value and they don't see behind the mask. Need for stimulation. Psychopaths love excitement. That's why they're always stirring the pot. Okay. So need for excitement, need for drama, need for, living right on the edge. Am I going to get caught or not? So breaking the laws to them is extremely exciting. Getting away with domestic violence, extremely exciting. Oh, please, seriously. They call the cops. They convince the cops that it's the target that's the problem. The target goes to jail. Oh, they are getting their rocks off on that. Are you kidding me? Which is why the police need to be trained in psychopathic behavior and in domestic violence situations, which is why the whole Gabby Pettit got completely read wrong. He was calm and cool. She was, you know, exhibiting a lot of anxiousness and nervousness because that's what targets of abuse do. And so the police immediately went, oh, well, he's the rational one. She's crazy. Nope, wrong. Incorrect response. When a target of abuse is confronted with a police person, they're going to be a wreck because a normal person would be nervous if the police comes around. Okay. Psychopaths are calm. They're cool. They're collected. They're charming. This is why we have such a huge problem in this country, is because police departments, the courts, and some of these places teaching students are not teaching these things, and they need to. Oh, sorry, I'm just so fed up with all of this. Okay. Need for stimulation, psychological lying, pathological lying. So they will then turn around and tell their target of abuse, well, you're a pathological liar. You're this, you're that. Okay. When in fact, they're talking about themselves. Okay. So remember, when they're doing the you, and they're using psychological terms, you really have to kind of pull it apart and go, wait a minute, I don't do this, but they do. Wait a minute, I don't do this, but they do. Wait a minute, I don't do this, but they do. Do you see where I'm going with that? So, okay. Manipulative. Psychopaths are really good at getting other people to do what they want, manipulating the police, for example. They may play on a person's guilt while lying to get someone else to do their work for them. Lack of remorse. They do not care. And this is so hard for targets of abuse to wrap our heads around, that abusers don't care that they've hurt you. A normal person would. I mean, if you harmed somebody, you would feel remorse, you would feel guilt, you would try to make it right, you would make amends, you would do whatever you needed to do. Psychopaths don't. They don't even offer the amends, or if they do, it's very superficial. So my dad, for example, when he would say just horrible, hateful, hurtful things, and I would be like, I'm not putting up with this. You owe me an apology. I'm sorry. No, you're not. You're sorry you got caught. Because a real apology is, oh my God, I hurt you. I am mortified. It will not happen again. What do I need to do to make this right? Narcissists and psychopaths won't do that. They have no remorse. Shallow effect. Psychopaths don't show any emotions, really, at least not genuine ones. They can mimic, they can mirror. Okay, so they can fake being human. That's how they walk among us, is that they read the situation and then they give what they think is going to be the appropriate response. But if you're watching them, it never reaches their eyes. It never reaches their smiles, don't reach their eyes. Sadness. Oh, the number of times I have seen in couples counseling the abuser get caught and then they pull out the crocodile tears and they did all of the sounds like they were, but I noticed they never needed a Kleenex. They never dabbed their eyes. They never, yeah. They weren't really crying. They were doing the mimicking of it. They weren't doing a genuine, real, oh my God, this is horrible. I am really feeling. They mimicked it. So there is that. Okay, shallow effect. Okay, they do whatever serves them well. They might exhibit a dramatic display of feelings, like I was just talking about. They're usually short-lived and very shallow, if real at all. For example, they may show anger if it can intimidate someone, or they might show sadness to manipulate someone, but they don't really feel those emotions. Lack of empathy. Psychopaths struggle to understand how someone else might feel afraid, sad, or anxious. They don't care. Let's just be clear. They don't care. It doesn't make sense to them. They're not able to truly read people. They're completely indifferent to people who are suffering, even when it's a close friend or family member. In fact, they enjoy it. They live a very parasitic lifestyle. How are we doing on times? Almost up to the questions. Okay. They live a very parasitic lifestyle. Psychopaths have sob stories, why they can't get a job, why they can't keep a job. They'll live off of other people. Does this sound familiar? Oh my God. Poor behavioral controls. Psychopaths struggle to follow rules, laws, and policies much of the time. Even if they set out to follow the rules, they usually don't stick to them for very long. They can be very promiscuous. They will go from one partner to another, to another, to another, to another. Constant cheaters, engage in unprotected sex, lie about their STDs, that type of thing. They use sex as a way to get what they want. They will use blackmail using sex to get what they want. Early behavioral problems. Psychopaths display behavioral problems at an early age. They may cheat, skip school, vandalize, misuse substances, set fires, become violent. Lack of realistic long-term goals. So they want to be rich and famous, but they have not a clue how to make that happen. So I think I talked about the one person who came and sat on my couch and demanded that I acknowledge them as the greatest rapper in history. Yeah, and it wasn't Tupac. So, it's like, I'm like, okay. And then they wanted to know how to get rich and famous. And I said, okay, well, you're going to need to get a demo tape. You're going to need to get an agent. You're going to need to perform. You're going to need to, get reviews. You're going to need to, and I was basically giving them the steps for how to. Blew up. I should have known. You wouldn't know. You're incompetent. You're this, you're that, and then he started insulting my office. And I'm like, okay. And, that's the typical psychopathic behavior, is demanding and narcissistic as well, which is why they start overlapping. When somebody becomes down towards the end of the spectrum, all of the traits of the cluster Bs start overlapping. So, demanding to be rich and famous without having the work, just wanting people to acknowledge them for being this great rapper without doing the legwork. You got to do the legwork, guys. Fame does not come overnight unless you've inherited it somehow. So yeah, it just, anyway. Okay. Impulsivity. Psychopaths respond to things according to the way they feel. They don't spend time thinking about the potential risks and benefits of their choices. Instead, they want immediate gratification. So they may quit a job, end a relationship, move to a new city, buy a new car on a whim, spend all of their savings. Yeah. Irresponsibility. Promises don't mean a thing to psychopaths. When they promise to repay a loan or sign a contract, they aren't trustworthy. They may shrug off child support payments, get deeply in debt, or forget about obligations and commitments. Psychopaths don't expect responsibility for the problems in their lives. They see issues as being someone else's fault and frequently play the role of the victim. They are married and have multiple partners sexually or financially. Criminal versatility. Psychopaths tend to view rules as suggestions. They do driving infractions, financial violations, acts of violence, anything they can get away with. So basically, psychopath versus sociopath. Psychopaths lack a conscience and don't feel empathy towards other. They may pretend to care, but very often maintain a normal facade to cover up cold-hearted or even criminal behaviors, whereas sociopaths may experience some limited empathy and remorse for their actions. They struggle to maintain normal behaviors and routines and can be impulsive and overly emotional. They may recognize that their actions are wrong, but find ways to rationalize their impulsive and harmful behaviors. So, I'm pretty sure that people listening to this do not fall into the psychopathy or the antisocial range of things. But what an abuser will do is project, and they will project who they are, what they are doing, what they are thinking, what they are, plotting to do onto the target of abuse. So very often when I've got, and I swear I will get to the questions in just a second. Very often when I get people coming to me after having been in, or they are still in, an abusive relationship, the abuser has said, "You're the narcissist, you're a psychopath, you're antisocial, you're this, you're that." Well, unless you're breaking laws and enjoying it, no, you're not. Unless you're doing all of those things that I just described, no, you're not. If you're worried about being a psychopath, if you're worried about being narcissistic, congratulations. No, you're not. Okay, let's just be clear about that. So, psychopaths and narcissists think that being psychopathic and narcissistic is a great thing. They really do. So, they don't understand the implications of it. So, when an abuser starts throwing around psychological terms, you don't want to respond, because that's what they're doing. They're looking for that reactive response so that they can then do the whole, You're the abuser. You yelled at me, so you're abusive. Meanwhile, they have been poke, 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 poke. You're this, you're that, you, to the point where you finally just go boom because you've had enough. And now they sit back and go, that's exactly what I wanted. Oh, look, oh, let me just get this on camera. Oh, look at that little vein pop out of your side of your neck. Oh, you're the abuser. Yeah, that's what they do because they're looking for you to explode. So here's the thing. The problem with a lot of people coming out of or still in abusive relationships is you've been groomed. You've been groomed to fight back. Don't. It's not going to do any good. You're defending yourself to someone who is committed to misunderstanding you. Let me say that again. Stop defending yourself to someone who is committed to misunderstanding you. So they're throwing this stuff at you. They're throwing these psychological terms at you to upset you, to rile you, to push your buttons, to make you stop believing in yourself, to make you lose confidence, to make you stay. Let me prove to you that I'm not, and then you stay and you keep trying to get those intermittent positive rewards. So this is why they're doing that. So we've got to train ourselves. If you are leaving an abusive relationship or if you have left an abusive relationship, stop responding. Just stop trying to defend yourself. It's not going to work, not directly to them. So what abusers love to do is they throw this stuff while you're in the relationship because they're trying to keep you trapped in the relationship. They want to keep you in that cycle of, let me explain. No, I'm not this. How could you think that? And it's drama for them. Remember, they need excitement. They need to stir the pot. They need to keep stuff going. So you got to stop explaining and you've got to stop correcting them. Okay. They don't care. They don't care. All they want to do is land that knife. They do. Closer to your heart, the better. So that's what they want. They want to land that knife right into your heart. Ooh, that hurt them. Boom. Ooh, that was a good one. Boom. You're a psychopath. Boom. You're a narcissist. Boom. You're antisocial. Boom. Do you see where I'm going with that? They're landing stuff to hurt you. They don't care. And talking to them, getting logical with them is not going to do a damn thing. So what oftentimes I see abusers do, like I said, they come onto channels like this and they gather little bits and pieces of little psychological terms that they can use. And then they turn around and start using it against your partner. Here is a huge red flag. Love is respect. Respect is love. If there is a psychological issue going on in the relationship, a loving partner would help you get the help that you need, and you would go get the help that you need. In an abusive relationship, psychological terms are used to hurt, to harm, to cause pain, to cause confusion, sow the seeds of doubt, self-doubt, second guessing, etc. So if you're getting a lot of these psychological terms thrown at you, I invite you to go look them up. So I have clients all the time that come in and go, oh my God, my spouse just told me that I'm this. Am I this? Great. Let's pull up the DSM-5. Let's go to the Mayo Clinic. Let's see if you are this. Do you set fires? Do you intentionally harm people? Oh, no. Oh, do you have a conscience? Oh, yeah. You feel guilty when things happen? Okay. Guess what? You're not that. But they want you to think that because remember, narcissists want you to be as morally, emotionally bankrupt as they are. They do. And so that's why they project. But we have got to stop giving them any energy. So when they start throwing terms, stop. Gray rock, and then get out of that situation as quickly as you possibly can. Get out of that room as quickly as you can. Get off the phone as quickly as you can. Stop responding to the texts. So once you leave the relationship, I know I've gone way over. I will get to the questions. Once you leave the relationship, and this is why I love Susanna Quintana, she'll help you figure out what to respond to when the narcissist or the abuser, the psychopath, whoever, whatever, starts throwing all these terms at you or starts, a novel on text or email and expects you to respond to everything. Once you're divorced from them, the only thing you need to respond to is things that have to do with the divorce decree, if it's not settled yet, or if you're in a custody battle, things that have to do with the kid. That's it. You are under no legal obligation to respond to anything. And they love to, let's see if I can hook them. Let's see if I can hook them. Let's see if I can hook them. So don't respond. Don't respond. You don't owe them a response. But they've trained us to think that we do. So it's really important to get to that point where you start writing this stuff down. What are they calling you? What are they saying? Great, let's go look it up. Mayo Clinic, go look it up on the Mayo Clinic. Mayo Clinic psychopathy, Mayo Clinic narcissism, Mayo Clinic this, Mayo Clinic that, or you can look it up in DSM-5. So, you start looking this stuff up and then you start asking yourself, do I do this? And I had to go through the list of antisocial with a client recently because the abuser said it with enough confidence that the abused went, "Ooh, is that me? Am I doing that? Oh my God." And I was like, "Okay, are you doing this? No. Are you doing this? No. Are you doing this? No. Are you doing that?" All through the 9 criteria. No, 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 I don't do any of those. Well, congratulations. You're not antisocial. You're not a psychopath. I hate abusers. I really do. They're just, don't get me started. And it angers me that the courts don't understand this stuff. It angers me that the police don't understand this stuff. It angers me that we really should be having a social worker go out on these domestic violence calls. Somebody trained in how a psychopath acts when police are involved, because the calm one, I can guarantee you, is probably the abuser. So the one that's freaked out is probably the abused. So anyway, so psychological terms are used to destroy your confidence, to make you question yourself, and more importantly, to keep you re-engaged in the constant defending yourself and trying to prove yourself to this person. They are committed to not understanding you. They are committed to harming you. And they basically want us dead. So, okay. So, all right. So if they start calling you psychological terms, if they start saying you're a psychopath, you're antisocial, you're depressed, you're you guns, go look it up. Go look it up. But do look it up from a reputable site like Mayo Clinic, okay? Or go directly to the DSM-5. I think the DSM-5 is now up on the internet. So, because it's old enough. So, anyway, do that and then start asking yourself, do I do this behavior? No, I don't. Do I do this behavior? No, I don't. Oh, well, guess what? I'm not that. You know what I'm saying? That's don't get me started. I just despise abusers. They make me very angry. So there's one way to combat that. The other thing is you gray rock. You don't engage. Don't engage. Don't engage. You do not want to do reactive abuse, or what they'll call abuse. So a reactive response to abuse, you then rage at them or you get angry at them, and they're going to play the victim. And they're going to say you're the abuser. So you want to stop giving them that narcissistic supply, because that's what they're looking for. That's what they're living for. So anyway, let's go to the question. So I hope that answered the question on when they start throwing around psychological terms, and the fact that you're not a psychopath. If you're staying through this whole thing, you're not a psychopath. You're not antisocial. Because psychopaths have the attention span of a gnat if it doesn't have to do with them, or if it's not something that's interesting to them, or getting their little rocks off. So so just gray rock, walk away, write it out. But remember, if you've got a psychopath in your life or an abuser in your life, make sure your journals are somewhere where they can't get to them. Make sure they're at work. Make sure and look stuff up at work. So that you can start, educating yourself and realizing, no, you're not this. No, you're not. If you're working on yourself, you're not, because psychopaths, narcissists, they don't work on themselves. They don't care. So, all right, let's get to the questions. And remember, next week, we're going to be talking about lies they tell to keep us stuck. So I think it's probably going to be titled How They Keep Us Stuck. So I want to talk about that, because the lies, the gaslighting, really mess with our head. And this is a form of gaslighting, throwing around psychological terms when they're not a psychologist or a counselor or a psychiatrist. That's gaslighting, Yeah, that's gaslighting. So let's talk next week about how they keep us stuck, because I want to talk about that. I also want to talk about the harems that they need and the lies they tell to keep harems going. So let's talk about that. Okay. Do narcissists have no real friends because they don't see people as human, but as objects to be used for their own benefit? Yeah, Yeah, they don't have real friends. Okay, let's be clear about this. Narcissists will collect flying monkeys. Okay. And flying monkeys are one of two things. They are either minor narcissists themselves and they're enjoying the drama that the main abuser brings, or they're ignorant and they don't understand that this person is abusive. I mean, because how many times have we told our stories and people went, oh, no, somebody couldn't act like that. Well, yeah, Mother Clucker, they could. They could, and they do. So, flying monkeys are either people that don't understand the level of abuse and the level of depravity that these people have, or they are minor narcissists themselves. And no, narcissists don't have friends. Narcissists don't socialize. Abusers don't have real, genuine friends. They've got associates, they've got people who can do things for them. So, again, if the narcissist can use you, then you have no more meaning to them than this cup or a pen. I don't know where my pen went. So this cup, you know what I'm saying? So it's really the only value we have to a narcissist is what we can do for them. That's really the only value we have to them. They don't, otherwise we don't exist. So, and it's sad and it's pathetic and it's angering and everything else. Um, is it common that a child feels that their narc parent is not a real parent and that this parent doesn't belong in their lives? I felt this since I was little. Oh my God, that my narc mom was not my real mom. Yes. Oh my God. So where's my book? Where'd my book go? Hang on. Oh, go down here. Okay. When I was talking about my childhood, what's wrong with your dad? I used to say that my real parents were kidnapped by aliens and that these were aliens that had replaced them. I know. How sad is that, really? So, yeah, when we're little kids, we know something is wrong. We do. And we kind of feel like this person is an alien. I mean, I really did. I really felt like my dad and my mom were aliens, less so my mom, but mostly my dad, but my mom too. And so we get this sense of unreality and we get this sense of how in the world could they be my parents because they're so heinous. They don't do what normal parents do. My grandmother certainly wasn't, on my mom's side, certainly wasn't a normal grandmother. She was the furthest thing you could get from the kind baking cookies, having fun, knitting grandma. I mean, she was just heinous. She was a narcissist through and through. And yeah, we get this sense of this isn't right. This is not my beautiful house. This is not my beautiful wife. I mean, it's like we get that. Sorry, I'm quoting Talking Heads. We get that sense of this isn't real. This isn't right. These people can't be my parents. And yes, when I was a little kid, I would say they're aliens. The aliens kidnapped them. Aliens. Aliens kidnapped them, and these are replacements sent from some alien civilization because they clearly don't know how to behave. I mean, seriously, hand to heart, swear to God, that is what I felt because it's like they have to be aliens because they don't know how to behave. That was my thinking. And so, yeah, when we're little kids, we do get that, well, there's got to be an explanation for why they're so completely bonkers. And so, yeah, we come up with whatever explanation makes sense. And so, and sometimes it's like, okay, they must not be my real parent. They're aliens. I was adopted. We start coming up with reasons why these parents are not behaving like healthy, normal parents. So, yeah, that is a very common thing. And a lot of kids grew up feeling like, okay, they don't belong in my life. What is the deal? Okay, so yeah, don't make yourself wrong. It's a normal thought. And really, the way to work through that and the way that I worked through that, obviously, I went through therapy and it was like, yeah, no, they were really my parents and they're just bat shimomo crazy. You know what I'm saying? And you just kind of have to really reinforce that. It's like, yeah, no, they're not aliens. They act like aliens, but they're not aliens. They're just crazy. They're, you know, it's like no big thing. It's just, well, it's a big thing, but it's like, yeah, they're just crazy. And working through that and recognizing it's them, not you. It's like they're crazy. You're okay. They're crazy. You're okay. That's not the way to behave when you're a parent. you know, that kind of thing. So yeah, totally common, totally normal. Don't freak out. Do start working through it. So I would say work on CPTSD from Surviving to Thriving by Pete Walker for dealing with the parents. Also, the Inner Child Workbook by Catherine Taylor, also for dealing with stuff in childhood. And if you can't get the Catherine Taylor book, some people have been telling me it's out of print. If you cannot get the Catherine Taylor book, just find a book on inner child work, whichever works for you, and start working it, because that's going to help you peel the layers of the onion. So, yeah, hold on. Do two narcs, malignant and covert, who are married, stay married? Well, they can. They can. The most common matching is a narcissist with a borderline, because they will eat the borderline for lunch, and it's a horrible thing to see. So the most common pairing is a narcissist with a borderline, because they can just poke at the borderline and the borderline will come unglued and give them all of the narcissistic supply they could ever use. So that's the most common pairing. The second most common pairing is obviously people who are empathic, because again, they poke, they get the response. The third most common pairing is a narcissist, an overt narcissist with a covert narcissist. And this pairing is a match made in hell, in that it's hell for the X. So what will end up happening is a overt narcissist will get together with a covert narcissist, divorce this other person over here. And remember, they could be either male or female, doesn't matter. So they'll, divorce this person over here who's sane. And then these two pair up and do the triangle, the hero, the villain, the victim. So the covert one is the victim, this one's the hero, and you're the villain. And they will keep, Lord, the covert narcissist in a situation like that during a custody battle will insist that the child or children call them mom or dad, will keep the custody battle going, kind of thing. They'll do things to create parental alienation. They will keep things roiled. Nothing is ever calm. Nothing is ever good. They'll punish the kid. They'll, all sorts of stuff. Play the victim. I'm the beleaguered step parent, which in some cases, if the person is a normal person, yes. But in other cases, if they're a covert narcissist, no, they're the ones causing the problems. So what they'll do is they'll get with an overt narcissist and they will just try to eat the sane parent alive that got away. Because think about it, it's great narcissistic supply for them, and they don't want to lose the villain over here, because then they would have to look at each other, and that's usually when they blow up, is when finally the sane parent is able to step away, and the kid is safe, and step away, and the kid's in therapy and things are good, and now these two have nothing to continue going after. So this is why I tell people, if you are in a custody battle, this is a marathon, not a sprint. This is going to last until the kid turns 18 and sometimes beyond, so until the kid is able to consistently get away from the abuser, consistently be in therapy. Yeah, these two, or this one over here, is going to constantly be poke at anything they can, because remember, if it's too quiet, well, now they're going to have to turn on each other. So, yep, that's a common one. It is. Do narcs see life as a theater play? Yes, they do. They seem to be pretending all their life to be something they're not. Yes, absolutely. Well, they have to, because what do they have? They don't have emotions. They don't have genuine feelings. They don't love. They don't, not in the way that you and I understand love. They don't care. They don't have a passion. And usually passions involve altruism. It usually involves helping other people or helping animals. Betty White. God, I love that woman. Anyway, so also, if you want to honor Betty White, go donate to a no-kill shelter or something. Her birthday is on the 17th of January, so that's what I plan on doing. So anyway, altruistic, helping, healing, helping to grow, helping to help, that kind of thing. They don't feel that. They don't enjoy it. They don't, because what is it doing for them? It's not about them. So what is it doing for them? That kind of thing. So, yeah, it is like they're acting all the time. It really is. And it's like they're playing a role all the time because they're not real. They're not genuine. And I think that is the most heartbreaking thing that targets of abuse come to realize is that this person that you thought you knew, that you thought you loved, that you thought was your soulmate or whatever bullshit line that they gave to you, is was not real. They were mirroring you back to you and they were mirroring what they thought you wanted. And this person never existed ever. And it's a grieving process. And it's heartbreaking when you see that and when you're just like, geez Louise, there's so much, so intelligent, so funny, so this, so that. And yet they're throwing their life away being fake. Wow. Okay, cool. Bye. It is. It's sad. It's a grieving process. And it's hard for us to wrap our heads around that this person that we invested so much time in and that we thought we knew and we thought we loved turned out to be a complete illusion. Wasn't real, not genuine. They were acting. They were mirroring us back to us. And as soon as it was safe, the mask slipped and the real them came out. And that's the real them. And that's the really hard thing to wrap our heads around is that horrible, awful, terrible, abusive person, that's the real them. Not the love bombing. That. And it's sad. So grieving, write and burn letters, That's the best way to deal with it. Allow yourself to grieve, but make sure that you keep reminding yourself of what they did to you. Don't get stuck in the whole, oh, but they were so great when they were this way. Why can't I have that back? Because it's not real. That's why you can't have it back. They can maintain it for a very small amount of time, and then the mask slips and then it starts all over again. The more psychopathic they are, the longer they can maintain that love bombing thing. So that's another thing to think about. Okay, let's go to the next question. I'm using EMDR with very, very interesting positive results. Is it good for an abuse that went on for decades? 2 narcs in my family. Yes. EMDR is really great. It really is. It's a great modality. So if talk therapy is not working, if you are not getting results, I don't want to say fast enough, but if you're not getting the results you really want, what you can do is you can use EMDR or EFT, emotional freedom therapy. That's the tapping stuff. That is very helpful with trauma. EMDR is extremely helpful with trauma. And you can couple that with talk therapy. So doing either one of those modalities with talk therapy can be very, very helpful. Absolutely. Or they're good on their own, and it's really just important to, try it. It's like not every modality is going to work for every person. So that's why I'm saying look up to see what your practitioner is using. If CBT is not working and you think EMDR will, do it. Do it. Or if you think EFT will, do it. Abso-freaking-lutely do it. And then sometimes people find that EMDR really gets them to a level and then they're like, I still need to talk about it. So let's go do talk therapy in conjunction with EMDR. So yeah, it depends on what works for you. All right, bunnies, that's it. We're done. My voice is going. So we're going to call it good for tonight. So today, whatever. So next week, I want to talk about how they keep us stuck. I want to talk about the lies they tell. I want to talk about why they need a harem and the lies they say to keep you a part of that harem. And that goes for males and females. So I want to talk about that. All right, you guys be good to each other. Drink plenty of water, eat healthy foods, go get some exercise. And I will talk to you next Sunday about how they keep us stuck. So basically about lying. All right, you guys be good. I'll talk to you later. Bye.